Hello and welcome once again from my side on today's webinar, Microsoft Security Briefing Latvia. My name is Ursula Groschel and I will be your host. A bit about the agenda. The first 13 minutes, my colleague Robert Turnšek, Chief Technology Officer from NIL, will talk about cybersecurity trends in 2020 and in the future. The next 45 minutes, my two colleagues, cybersecurity analysts from NIL, are going to show you the demo about advanced cyber attacks and how to prevent them. And the last but not least, the last 15 minutes, will join us also Mr. Tomas Kibirkštis, Senior Cyber Security and Compliance Technical Specialist from Microsoft, and other speakers. So now I will give the floor to my colleague, Mr. Robert Turnšek, and he will start with his presentation. Please, Robert, the floor is yours.
First, a little about myself. Robert Turnšek, being in this kind of jobs quite a long one. So recently I've got a lot of congratulations on LinkedIn for 26 years of being part of NIL. It was my first job. I did really a lot of different tasks, from being a programmer, engineer, specialist for the data center, and also specialist for the security, to lately being the Chief Technology Officer at NIL. Holding several different certifications, primarily from my, let's say, favorite vendors are Cisco, Microsoft, and VMware. You can reach me at email specified here, rturnšek@nil.com. And in the spare time, I really like to travel, and I combine this with my work. So some of these travels are with my family, some are just an extension of business trips. For example, this kind of bungee in Africa was really nice weekend break from the work. About NIL, a few facts about NIL. So being a company since '89, Microsoft partner since '97, we are doing the whole life cycle solutions. So it means from pre-sales, consultings, designs, equipment and software selling, to setting up, and then doing the first, second, or third level support, or doing the whole operations, or just being some kind of managed provider. What differentiate us from other let's say similar companies is that we are also training provider, and so our engineers are combining knowledge from the field with the theoretical knowledge getting from doing the courses, and we are also developing a lot of content for several major vendors like Cisco and other vendors. Currently, from Microsoft point of view, we have 4 gold and 4 silver competencies, and quite a lot of engineers certified in various technologies. Our focus in Microsoft is primarily security, a little bit of Azure, and Office 365. We used to be quite good at on-prem technologies, but recently, if you probably noticed, Microsoft decided that Azure, Office 365, and security in the cloud or around the cloud are more important, and I agree with this approach. We've been acquired last year by Nordic group from Denmark called Konsha. You might know it. It's in your neighborhood. So we are now part of the group of companies of 6 companies. We have offices besides Slovenia also in Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Netherlands, and Germany. Right now, we'll probably acquire some more. So that was about me and about NIL. So let's talk about the topic of today. So the state of the cybersecurity, or the state of why this kind of stuff about the webinar. My first question usually when I do this kind of presentation is, okay, so why we all have our jobs? So why do we have IT basically? So you can say at the end that IT is that users, consumers in some cases, can access to applications, and behind the applications we have either data in the databases or the data in some kind of document. So that's basically in a nutshell why all of us on this call get paid every month and do something. And doing this kind of stuff, so enabling this kind of stuff for our users, for our partners, for our customers, means that we have to take care about not just enabling this, but take care about security a lot. And here we had a lot of big changes lately. So the idea is that, let's say 5-10 years ago, or when I started, it was quite easy. You have a headquarter and some remote locations, and all the data, all the users were at that location. Now, with the start of internet and with, let's say, proliferation of internet, everything is changed. So the cyberspace is a new battlefield. So it's not only, we're not talking only about the private data center, but we are talking about public data centers, several public data centers. So customers are using different public vendors, some for infrastructure as service, some for example, SaaS. And another part which you probably notice is security skills are in short supply. Majority of IT guys, at least here in Slovenia, want to do some kind of fancy applications. So everybody wants to be a programmer because that's sexy and that's what people see. So usually the users are seeing the Angry Birds, but not the what the infrastructure behind. So security is basically, it has to be everywhere, but it's still predominantly a infrastructure game. Another part is that more and more stuff are being connected to network, so to the internet, wherever. The reason for that is Industry 4.0. So the reason is that we want to get the data from wherever we can, but we connect. So we have to connect all the devices. So from the toasters to the, on this picture, to the robots in the factory plant. So everything is connected. And so, but as soon as it's connected, it becomes vulnerable to cyber attacks. So before that, in the especially industry, if you work in the industry, I have some experience also in the industrial, let's say, environment. Basically, the robot, this kind of robot, will do whatever command it gets. The robot really doesn't care who gives the command and if this command is valid. So it will do whatever is told to do. And as long as this was closed in one plant or one production line, this was not a problem. But as soon this is connected to the internet or to other devices, somebody can hack these devices and get to this one and do a lot of damage or start to producing something which is not intended to be produced. One message from one of top Microsoft executives. He's a lawyer, but he's really passionate about how the data will be used and how everything should be connected. So he said that everything, every thermostat, every electrical heater, so whatever, will be connected or already is connected to the internet. So to some kind of network, which is then through some kind of devices connected to the internet. This means, he says, that everything is subject to attack. Probably seen in the media lately, there was a big denial of service attack to DNS servers. It was basically done through cameras and through IoT devices. So somebody figured out that there are cameras plugged into internet without any security, so they're hackable. So they hacked multiple cameras and start doing denial of service on the DNS server. So that was just, from my point of view, it was just some kind of proof of concept attack. As I said, so we are not defending anymore the data center, private data center. So this is what we used to defend a few years ago. Now everything is connected. All the users, all of us want to have access from mobile devices. We don't want usually to open the PC if we have the smartphone in the pocket. So sensors, smart cities, partners, so everything is connected. And since as soon as everything is connected, everything can be hacked. So the biggest challenge is that we who are taking care about this kind of infrastructure have to take care about all the stuff. But the attackers have to find only one weak point in our defense, and they will gain access. So that's the biggest challenge, and we can't do it by ourselves anymore. So we have to rely on partnership a lot. So as I said, bad actors are using sophisticated attacks on one hand, but on the other hand, old attacks, which are known for years or maybe even 10 years, are still working quite fine. So the easiest way to compromise some PC is still, you will not believe, it's still an email. So getting an attachment in the email, which will take over the underlying computer. So this is still, so phishing and this kind of attacks are still the easiest way for the attacker to gain access. Or even more simpler, send an attachment and then ask the user to open it, because they won the first prize in some lottery, which they never heard. This kind of stuff are still happening a lot, unfortunately. So one of the things where we have to pay a lot more of our attention is to educate our users, because at the end the users are still the weakest link in the whole let's say cyber kill chain. The surface area is really bigger, because we have to protect all the stuff we have, so all the devices, all the endpoints, all the data centers, all the applications, all the sensors, so a lot of stuff to defend. So at least in the first phase, this kind of devices starts to sending a lot of information about the state of the device, so what's happening with the device. And in some cases, in a lot of cases, more complex attacks, we will just see the events which one by one would be normal, but all together are really showing that attack is happening, or the attacker has already compromised our system. So there has to be some kind of correlation. Usually is in that kind of product, you always have machine learning, artificial intelligence, and the idea is that machines, so the software, the algorithms, are taking care about the first level of correlation, and then the human eyes would do the rest. So what's left after that kind of correlation? But it's still expensive and still quite in early stages. So we have to work on it, or find another ways to do it. Another funny picture, at least from my side, is that, yeah, we can say, okay, as this robot, you can be fooled to allow something, even if thinking that on the other side it's a trusted person or trusted application. So that's one of the way how you get fooled. And one thing, especially for the guys like me we are loving technology. So technology is only 26% of the whole puzzle. So another 74%, which is usually a nightmare for techie people, are people and the policies or processes, so however you want to call it. So these numbers are usually do not change a lot. So one quarter is technology, and if you look in your projects, it's primarily customers are investing in technology, not in because that's the easiest part. I will buy a new firewall, I will buy a new prevention system, I will buy a new product X, deploy it, and then I will forget it, and I will be safe for the next 3 years. And you see, with this kind of research done by Cisco or by others, is that this will cover only 26%. So only a quarter, but majority of the money goes there, unfortunately. And if we look a little bit about how the attackers are thinking, so this is, if you know this kind of canvas models with the minimum valuable products, is that you have to define, when you go to do new product development, you have to define and describe this kind of areas. And if you look at key activities, if this was, let's say, filled in by some attacker, so their key activities are targeting our customer relationship, our key resources, and our cost structure. So one of the most interesting part with the security is that attackers are always looking that they will earn some more money. You will see later on, but their goal is business. Like it's a business of us to protect everything. Majority of today's attacker, the same. This is just a job for them, nothing more and nothing less, and they get the revenue streams. So basically, from your revenue streams and from your cost structure. Some Verizon research from this year. So you see that since 2010, majority of the attacks are coming from the external sources. There are still some, let's say 1/3 internally, and there are also some attacks through the partners. So we, for example, kind of partner attack here in Slovenia, we have a part of Renault, one factory of Renault, and they got the attack through internal Renault network because some other company was breached in the whole group. So they were really not attacked from the outside, but okay, initially the attack started out from the external. So what does it mean that everything majority is external? So we are talking. I was talking about the business model of the attacker. So right now, what's happening with the attacks is that attackers are being specialized. So, for example, you have the first level of attackers. They will run a script scanning all the IP addresses in Latvia. So it's quite easy to get the IP addresses belonging to Latvia from RIPE. So they were scanning all the IP addresses in Latvia for open ports. That's the first level of attack. So what you will see probably in your systems, you will see that somebody is scanning the well-known ports like HTTP, HTTPS, SSH, and so on and so on. Then this data, so the filter out data, so all the open ports will be sold for a few dollars somebody else on the darknet, and this somebody else will say, okay, I'm a specialist for the web servers, so I will just use the data for HTTP, HTTPS, and look for what kind of web servers are running behind these open ports on the firewalls or on the systems enabled. And my specialty is, let's say, for example, it will be a more advanced attacker. So his specialty is that are, let's say, for example, Microsoft IaaS servers. And he will figure out various techniques that, okay, next, let's say 100 open ports on HTTP are running IaaS, and he will also get the versions behind, and maybe also some exploits already. He will then sold this later to somebody else for a few dollars, who will say, okay, I'm good at attacking Microsoft IaaS, but I don't have any clue on attacking Apache. He will already have a list of, let's say, 100 IaaS servers in Latvia, and start trying to hack them. Because this will be his specialty, he will be probably successful if the servers are not patched, or if the guy knows some kind of zero-day attack, which is not publicly known. Here is one important part, which you probably heard me saying, is if the server is not patched. One of the biggest challenges right now in the IT industry is slow patching of the servers, of the infrastructure, of the whatever we have. The reason why this is so huge problem is that as soon there is a patch, there is also the explanation how the attack is working. It might be even that there are scripts which you just run, and the attack will happen without any knowledge what's behind. So you just start the script or program, and you are connected to the vulnerable system. So basically, this means that if you don't patch your machine or your system, it's for well-known security exposure is for you like zero-day attack. But everybody knows about this zero-day attack, and this is the biggest challenge. And the motivation, as I was explaining, this kind of specialization of attackers. So majority of them this is their way of living. So this is their daily job. They might spend few hours on that job per day, or they might spend several 12, 16 hours in some cases. There are, of course, some other attackers, espionage, but this is primarily from the country to country. When I was doing before this webinar, I was searching a little bit on the internet about the Latvia, and I've seen a lot that you have a lot of challenges about the espionage from Russia. At least that's what Google figured out when I say cyber attack Latvia and this kind of stuff. What was publicly known. So one of the things which we're discussing is a lot of people are still thinking that the attackers are young men, usually wearing a hoodies. I know some of our guys who are working in SOC, and I don't think that anybody is really running around with hoodie like this attacker. So yeah, because they are white hackers, so they have to wear a white hoodies. And what we are thinking is that our systems are really organized like these cookies, but unfortunately our systems looks like more this. So like a spaghetti, and the different ingredients are mixed in, and the security part is usually the green one, which nobody wants to eat, and nobody wants to take care about it. So it is there as a spice. And as I said, patching is a big issue. So that's one of the researches we were talking about before. This is another information from that research. Is you see that after 90 days, so the exploit is known for 90 days, and it's still below 50% the devices are patched. So yeah, you might argue with it. So these devices are hidden behind a firewall. These devices are not directly connected to the internet. Yeah, but a lot of companies have some kind of public services, which are maybe in some DMZ, but then these devices are going to the backend servers, which might not be patched. That's one view on that. On the other hand, it might happen that if you patch the machine too soon without testing, it might happen that some applications will not start after the patching. And you created a denial of service for yourself with the patching. So you have to be careful. Another big challenge is because of that spaghetti we have in our systems, is that we have this so-called technical debt. So whenever we have some kind of issue, so we are usually so underutilized that whenever we have some kind of technical issue, we just create a patch. So we just solve the problem, and we say, okay, we find usually the workaround, and we say, today I'm so exhausted about figuring out what was wrong, so the users are working now, so everything is perfect. Let's go for a beer, and we'll do some kind of systematic solution next day. But unfortunately, next day we get another incident where we have to find a workaround that our users can work. So it's a patch on patch on patch. It's like these New Year's resolutions. My diet starts tomorrow. Usually my diet starts never. So that's the same way we are doing on IT, and we are doing this for long that this kind of rock start from the small stones, become really big one, and we have either major breaks or major incidents. So attacker business models, a little bit, we are talking about the business model a lot, because one of the things, majority of attacks, at least initial ones, are done in that way that you are not targeted. In majority of the cases, it's different if this is government to government, but in a majority business environment, you were just initially scanned, the vulnerable service was found, and then somebody get control about the first server, then get control of the second server, and get control of the domain controllers, get control of the whole internal network and all the systems, and then starts researching around what kind of data, what kind of information can be gathered there to monetize it, or vice versa, just plant the crypto virus and decrypt all the data and then ask for the ransomware. So in the beginnings of the internet, attacks were majority of service stealing. So at the beginning, it was really popular to get free access to the internet, because access to the internet was really expensive. So that was the first one. So majority of the targets were telcos or providers to the internet, this kind of services, so or free phone calls and this kind of stuff. You've seen the movies a lot like this, that somebody was whistling in the headset and gets free connectivity. This was initial. So then there were some kind of unorganized, so trying to steal something if you find it by any chance. Then it was really a period of denial of services. So we'll bring down your web service if you don't pay us such amount of money, and then you start sending, if the victim is not willing to pay, you just start sending a big amount of data, usually just a SIM packets, and the servers on the other side will crash or will run out of the resources. Then we get a few years later, or a few years before today, it was everything about, it still is about the personal information. So medical data, tax data, this kind of stuff, and already start to steal the intellectual property. And a little bit behind, already the first individual blackmailing. So taking picture about some person on the other side doing some stupid things, or browsing on the web pages where he will be ashamed and this kind of stuff, exposing this kind of stuff. Sorry. And then there was an age of the organizational blackmail. So with the crypto, that was quite popular for a few years, even here in Slovenia. We have some cases around it. And in the future, what we see is that, okay, we'll steal your data, then we'll contact you that you send us so many, so that if you want to get data back, please pay us in Bitcoins or something else. But in most cases, even if you will pay it, the data will be then sold to the highest bidder. So that's the model, so where the security is going. And one of the things, this is organizational blackmail is done through really criminal organizations. So beside the white slave, money laundering, there is also really popular area for the organized crime is IT. Some incidents you probably all know. So these are really big ones. So for example, the Marriott chain was let's say, in the Marriott they stole data about several million or 10 millions of their guests. And for that reason, a lot of my co-workers got the new credit card, because these credit cards were also, their company credit cards were also part of that list. So banks just in advance exchange the cards. And maybe some boring incident. This is a local incident, as I said, local incident in Slovenia. As I said, I've tried to find out some Latvians, but publicly I could find something mentioned about some kind of electrical distribution, but I couldn't find it. It was really the break-in. The first one is really that was really few year ago. It's a pharmacy chain, and they got the crypto virus, and they were down for a week, more than a week. They couldn't get. They need a week to get the data back from the backups, and a lot others which you probably know, and they are not so publicly well known. So under this kind of researches, about 6.5 million of data per day is stolen in some or other way. As I said, so typically what we've seen is the typical incident, even in Slovenia, which is 2 million people country, that pharmaceutical chain, their CEO, when he was on media, when the reporters asked him, so what is the cost? He said around 3 million euros. So that was the cost about doing the restore back, restarting all the systems, cleaning up, and also the public image. So direct impact on the business they do. They are just one of the chains. That we have others. So there is a competition, and of course, competition use this kind of events to get more market share. As their attackers are just doing the attacks they did 20 years ago, but in the different model. So they are getting specialized. There is not one person or one organization doing the whole stuff, but they are specialized like in industry. So for example, the car industry, the BMW or Audi is just setting up the car together at the end, but all the parts are manufacturers all over the world. So They are specialized people around the world doing the parts, this kind of stuff. With the attackers, we are going in the same direction. And another thing which is getting more and more true, unfortunately, is that prevention can do it up to some level, but we have to, the security is not, it never was one-time event. We are buying the firewall, we are buying the system, and then we forget for 3 to 5 years, and then after 3 to 5 years, we are buying a new one. Security is now becoming a process, and more people are getting so agree with this kind of stuff. And so this is a view of the cost per incident from the size of the company. So you see, even the small companies below 500, the cost is around 2.7 million. For the big ones, the cost is not increasing so more, but you know, if you look, if you take in consideration that they have more revenue, more EBITDA, they can pay this kind of or defend this kind of attack easier. One of the biggest challenges in the whole story is that it takes around 200 days, at least that was in the information from 2019, last year, to figure out that we were attacked. Imagine that you have a burglar in the physical world would be hidden below your bed in your bedroom for 200 days, and you wouldn't figure out. So that's the sad story we have right now in IT security. So around 200 days. If we are looking this a little bit region by region, Germans are, let's say, the best, but there are still in average 131 days to somebody figure out to identify that they were attacked, and then to contain another 40 days. Another ugly truth is that as soon as attacker gets the access to the data will be pumped out in hours, not in days. So that's the biggest challenge. So right now, the idea in cybersecurity is that we set up obstacles for the attackers, that we will figure out that we are under attack and contain the attacker before it gets to the data. So the thing we were talking about at the first slide. So that's the reason why the detection and response is the most effective control. That was a little bit about a few slides about how Microsoft is envision all this stuff. So it looks a lot of other product, a lot of products, a lot of complexity. The reason is that, okay, cybersecurity is a complex stuff. So there are a lot of moving parts, a lot of points where the attacker can enter your systems. So you have to cover everything from the clients to another side, to identities, document protection, and then of course all the infrastructure. So even though I'm saying, okay, it's not enough to buy the firewall every 3 years, you still have to have this kind of prevention. It's the same way you are having the door and the lock on your home, that you prevent 80% of somebody who would go just buy your house and try to enter and steal whatever is on the first shelf. So you still need this kind of prevention systems, but majority of the focus should be on doing the stuff in the prevention, so in the process, so optimizing and observing the whole stuff. And if we, let's say, summarize all the boxes from the previous slide, we can go to 4 big areas where Microsoft is really investing a lot of effort and a lot of money and a lot of resources. So the first one is identity and access management. We have to be sure who is on the other side of this, who really logs into the system. So username and passwords are not good enough anymore. So yeah, we have to have this kind of something more, and usually this is called multi-factor authentication. So identity access management. Then we have information protection. So now we know who's in the other side, who logs into the system. Now we can say, okay, we can protect the documents and allow the users to access them. So, and with this kind of approach, the documents can be even shared on the public internet if it's protected with encryption, and we know who really accesses it. This is, let's say, another level of security. Usually it's called zero trust model. And then these two are basically observing what's happening when somebody is logging in, trying to access the information, trying to modify the information, doing some stupid stuff, or doing some stuff which is not done by themselves. So for example, you have your laptop and you usually are doing some traffic during the workdays, and then one night your computer decides at 3 o'clock in the morning that it starts sending a lot of data to Indonesia. And you never did this. So this kind of strange behavior, it might be normal. So you might just come from the party and you want to do something, you have a new product in Indonesia, but it's highly unlikely. And of course, all this information, which is sent from all the systems on the previous page, on the previous slide, it has to be observed and controlled by somebody. There is some degree it can be done automatically with artificial intelligence and machine learning, but on the end, you still need human eyes to see it. So it's like yin and yang. There are some prevention systems, but there is also some detection and response, which is getting more and more important. So another way on the same stuff, monitoring service. So partners are really taking more and more share of this kind of monitoring service. It's outsourced. The reason why it's outsourced is that there are not a lot of people with this kind of knowledge. It's usually a long process of acquiring this kind of knowledge. It's some kind of mentor process. So you have to have some kind of skilled engineer who will then transfer the knowledge through work to young engineers. And on the other hand, having this kind of system or this kind of group of people inside the company is the best way to do it. But usually the companies are too small, or the security and the IT is not the core business. So it's good to outsource this to the specialists. And that's the reason why we at NIL, we created Security Operations Center. This is the current view to our Security Operations Center, where we currently have around 30 people sitting. And we offer different packages from core detection, incident response, proactive detection, lifecycle, and security engineering. So that was about the theory. I'm now passing the ball to my colleagues who will show some more interesting stuff than just a PowerPoint theory.
Okay, hello everyone. Let us first introduce ourselves, as both Danijel and I will guide you through today's second presentation with the title Advanced Cyber Attacks and How to Prevent Them. We will take a look from both sides of the coin. That is from the attacker's perspective, so that's why we have the red color, and from the defensive side, the blue one. My name is Češčut, and I work as security analyst in our Security Operations Center at NIL. Before changing the department and moving into the NIL SOTS department, I was working on different infrastructure projects for our customers in Slovenia and abroad. And now for the last 3 years, I'm mostly focused on Microsoft security solutions such as Cloud App Security, Azure ATP, Microsoft Defender ATP. And now for a short while, I was also involved in some internal pen testing projects focused primarily on Active Directory.
I'm Danijel, and as Jan, I work as a security analyst at NIL Security Operations Center. In my previous professional life, I was a pen tester, and I did a lot of interesting projects. I saw many things in terms of security misconfiguration and human error. Today, I will be also in the role of an offensive actor, and besides red teaming activities, lately I gained also interest in ICS security. ICS stands for Industrial Control Systems. And as we all know, industrial control systems are part of critical infrastructure, and therefore securing this kind of things is very important stuff. I love all kinds of sports, and enough of talking about us. Let's move on with the agenda.
Let me share with you some beginners' problems that we encountered during the start of our SOTS journey here at NIL. Initially, when we were still developing our managed detection and response service, we soon realized that just uncritically adding new event sources definitely won't be the right path towards success. So Danijel and I, at that time, still working as T1 analysts, we were both practically overwhelmed with all the noise that were produced by appliances that we have added to our SOTS visibility. And of course, as all security analysts should, we were reading different cybersecurity news sources and following relevant Twitter accounts in cybersecurity field. So we encountered CyberKillChain, and soon after that, also MITRE attack framework. Practically today's presentation is really all about these two concepts, but both looked upon from different perspectives. After this initial cybersecurity theory, we will show you some real-world cyber attacks, and each of them will be countermeasured with a defense method, followed by a short overview of the new unified security portal, the Microsoft 365 Security Center. And right at the end, we will also talk a little bit about our NIL SOTS service that we offer on the market. So let's move on, Danijel.
Okay. So probably everyone in the security industry heard at least at some time of the term CyberKillChain. The CyberKillChain was the first broader accepted model for describing what's going on in a cyber attack. As we can see, the model has 7 different stages, from reconnaissance to actions on objectives. The model is quite easy and handy to use. As a defender, we can say at which stage an attacker is and at what will be their next step, at what stage he will move to. So the model is easy to understand and handy to use, but as easy as this is, it's not enough to address the complex behavior of cyber attacks. Therefore, new models emerged. One of them is MITRE attack. MITRE attack is based on research on previous public known and disclosed breaches. So in more details, in MITRE attack, we are looking at the techniques. The cells in the matrix represents the techniques that the attacker use in their attacks. The techniques are grouped into tactics, which are the columns of techniques, around 260 and even more. And in a not so distant future, we will have sub-techniques. And so at least some of the cells will have sub-techniques. So the model is based on divide and conquer. So we divide the problem of a cyber attack into smaller pieces, and hopefully by solving these smaller pieces, we can solve the problem of cyber attacks. So I'm giving over to Jan.
What security solutions Microsoft has to offer to address the steps from CyberKillChain? Basically, we could divide them into groups. The first group consists of ATP, or Advanced Threat Protection Solutions. These are Office 365 ATP, which mostly covers the initial stages of the CyberKillChain. Then we have Microsoft Defender ATP. This one addresses practically the largest part of CyberKillChain, and it runs on Windows 10, Windows Server 2016, and 2019 endpoints. And last, we have Azure ATP, which runs in Azure Cloud, but there is also, let's say so, its older brother or sister named Microsoft Advanced Threat Analytics that is entirely installed in your on-premise data center. But please remember, Advanced Threat Analytics is, let's say, being phased out, and there will, in the future, remain only Azure ATP. And then the second group, a much larger group, contains different solutions and security enhancements for Windows operating system itself. First, we have Windows Defender Application Guard, which uses the hardware-assisted virtualization to run a lightweight virtual machine. And inside this, let's say so, container, a Microsoft Edge web browser is running. The browser is in fact isolated from the rest of the Windows operating system, and Microsoft in the near future will extend this security enhancement to also include Microsoft Office application. Continuing with Windows Defender Application Control, this is a security solution that falls into the, let's say so, application whitelisting family of security solutions. Maybe you've already heard about AppLocker, and application control, we could say that is much improved AppLocker designed for environments that require the high security. Then we have Windows Defender Antivirus, which is the third solution in the list. So here, nothing really much to say. Most likely you all know what Windows Defender Antivirus is. Continuing, we have Windows Defender Exploit Guard, which protects the applications from buffer overflow exploits and also some other attack vectors. Its predecessor was Enhanced Mitigation Experience Toolkit, or EMET, but EMET again is not supported anymore. I think the last operating system was Windows 7 that it still was running on. Then we have Windows Defender Credential Guard that protects a very important process in Windows operating system. The process name is LSAS, and Credential Guard protects it from credential dumping attacks. And also one such attack we will show you later in the demo part of our presentation. Last but not least, we have Windows Hello for Business. Basically, Windows Hello for Business is a modern multi-factor authentication solution that uses the trusted platform model, which is integrated in all modern PCs, to store the private key used for authenticating the user into the operating system, or also some other online solutions like Office 365 and so on. This occasion, we prepared a small lab environment with Active Directory, and we will use it to show you the three most used techniques to get full access to the victim's IT environment. So the first attack is a spear phishing attack, and this is the most important step for an attacker to get a foothold in the victim's environment. That's why it is very important, of course, if we look from the attacker's perspective, that the email is carefully prepared, as this will give him higher probability that the attached file will be opened by the victim. Usually, of course, the attached files contain some malicious script that is hidden, and when the victim runs this, the attacker can access the computer. The second attack will be the anti-LM relaying attack. Here, we will show you how an attacker moves from the initial computer to some other more valuable targets. Danijel will get access to the Jumpbox server, where some users have currently some active RDP sessions established. And the last attack will be the credential dumping technique, which extracts all the credentials from the active memory of the LSAS process that I've already mentioned in the previous slide, but more on this process again later during the demo part. Additionally, password hash that will be extracted this way with the credential dumping technique will Danijel use to execute past the hash attack and gain full control of this lab Active Directory. Just one more thing to mention before we continue with the demo. All these demos are pre-recorded because some of them are quite complex and also contain many steps that must be executed in the right way for the attack to succeed. And also we don't have enough time allotted to be able to do this live. So enough talking and let's get our hands dirty.
Okay, here we have a classical attack vector, which is spear phishing. I guess there is none of us here that didn't receive a phishing. So, nevertheless, spear phishing is still highly effective when it comes to get inside a company's network. So in this classical example, we will use Excel with a malicious macro that will execute PowerShell at the end. So let's move on with the demo. So we can see the phishing mail. It smells like phishing. And we can see the Excel. If the user opens the attachment and enables the content, the Visual Basic will run at the end the PowerShell command. So here we are on the attacker side, and we will listen to port 443 for a reverse connection. So as soon as the user enables the macro, we get our reverse shell. At this stage, we are on the computer as this user and can execute the commands as this user. So, for example, the next logical thing what will attacker do is get as much information as possible. In this example, we are extracting domain users and, of course, domain admins. Domain admins are a highly attractive target since they have a lot of privileges in the domain and a lot is possible to move on them. So before we continue with the attack, let's see how we can minimize the attack surface and maybe prevent such attacks.
Okay, let's see what are some of the most effective methods to prevent the spear phishing attacks. In our opinion, the human factor is the most important one. That's why you should have a regular end-user awareness training so that employees will be able to recognize any suspicious email. Next, a very effective method to heighten attention is the so-called external email banner in the header of the message. This will make the recipient of the email, of course, much more careful when dealing with it, as the user will clearly see that the email was sent by an external party. Of course, using a good email gateway is very important. Having correctly configured SPF and the KIM records on the email is also practically a must. If possible, if your company policy permits this, disable automatic macro scripts execution, as usually the attachments, the malicious scripts exploit this functionality in Office applications. Try to implement an application whitelisting solution without any additional costs. In fact, you can use App Locker or Windows Defender application control, as both solutions are built in Windows operating system. So let's see how PowerShell behaves when App Locker is enabled. In fact, PowerShell has become very powerful and it can do some pretty nasty stuff to your Windows operating system, because the PowerShell itself has access to low-level Windows 32 API functions. And in the video, we see that some PowerShell commands that are, in fact, the same as Danijel used during the attack, because of the App Locker, will be prevented to run. And this will, in fact, block the execution of the malicious script. Okay, so moving on to the next attack. So the next attack in our cyber attack chain is the NTLM relaying attack. But before we can show you the attack, it is good to know how, in fact, the NTLM authentication works, as the attack exploits this vulnerable authentication that is still present in Windows operating system. So NTLM authentication is used when a user would like to access some resources that are offered by a Windows server. And let's suppose that we have some Word document stored on a Windows file share. Before the server gives access to the shared folder, the client must authenticate with his credentials. And of course, if the provided username and password is correct, the user is granted access. So all good. But now let's move on and see how NTLM authentication behaves when the attacker intercepts the communication between both parties. So NTLM relaying attack falls into a family of cyber attacks that are called man-in-the-middle attacks. Why man-in-the-middle? Because the attacker puts himself in the middle of the communication between the client and the server. And as you can see in the animation, almost the whole process of authenticating the user via NTLM follows the already known pattern. And to the client, everything pretty much seems normal. The attacker is only forwarding the message left and right. But until the last part, when the server replies with the access granted message, and this time the packet is in fact consumed by the attacker to access the server, and the user gets only a message with access denied pop-up window. Okay, so the attack itself.
Okay, so let's talk about hashes. We have NTLM hash, we have the net NTLM hash. The first can be used for pass the hash, and the second for NTLM relaying. We will use the second one, and keep in mind this picture on the left. We will try to intercept a hash of a user in the network and relay this hash to the Jumpbox server. And we are still on the victim 1 machine. So let's move on with the demo. So we are still on the victim 1 machine. And for the tag, we will use PowerShell, and to be more precise, framework which is called Inway. So Inway is a PowerShell framework. And as you can see in the comments, the first 2 comments will load the necessary models in order to execute the attack. The second or third line will establish a listener, and the last line will establish a relay that will relay the necessary hash to the Jumpbox server. So let's execute the command. What's happened? We have some output, but at this stage, nothing special is happening unless a user in the network opens a browser. We will see this right now. So the user opens a browser and he goes to a website, whatever website he wishes to go. And that's everything what it takes for a successful attack. Let's see what we have on the attacker side. Basically, a bunch of stuff is going on. I don't want to bother you with the details. And since we're short of time, I'm moving forward here. So as you can see, the attack succeeded. And we have 2 sessions. Only one is needed for a successful attack. So we will relay. The relay succeeded. So we will execute a command on the Jumpbox server. Since this user we relate is a privileged user, and we have the right privilege on the server. Let's see what happens next. You can see below the commands that we'll execute on the Jumpbox server. So the first one is to add a user, and the second one is to add this user to the local admin group. This is quite a noisy technique, but nevertheless it's effective. So we can see the command executed successfully. And just to prove to you that this actually worked, we will remote desktop to the Jumpbox server as this newly created user. Let's move on again. Here we are on the Jumpbox server as this newly user, and just to prove to you that this user was actually added to the local admin group, we will execute the last command. You can see that the attack worked, the not invisible user was added, and he is part of the local admin group. From here now, we have a lot of possibilities, but before we continue with the attack, let's see how we can prevent such things from happening.
Okay, of course, we should have a properly segmented network. Summable signing should be enabled on every SMB connection. And also LDAP signing must be enforced. In fact, if you remember, at the beginning of this year, Microsoft announced that signing will be enforced with March, I think, Patch Tuesday, but later postponed this. But nonetheless, enable LDAP signing if your third-party solutions that authenticate to Active Directory permit this. Of course, obsolete or not needed protocols should be disabled. And I will show you in the demo, in 2 videos that we have, how different the network looks like when protocols are disabled and when they are not. Last but not least, stop using anti-LM authentication and upgrade to a safer protocol such as Kerberos authentication. Okay, let's take a look at the 2 video clips. Okay, just a moment. So maybe just go a little bit, we'll go again from the beginning. We have a Windows 10 virtual machine and Wireshark active that captures NetBIOS packets, LLM NR packets that are usually by default enabled on each Windows 10 workstation. And just by simply running Microsoft Edge browser, you can see in the Wireshark window that there are some packets created because of Edge browser. All these packets can be exploited by the attacker that listens in the local area network and poisons the cache of the clients, nearby clients. The same thing will happen if the user will open, let's say, File Explorer, that is Windows Explorer, and enter a non-existent server name. Maybe he mistypes it, and again, new packets are generated. So this is a really good target to start the anti-LM relaying attack. Okay, in the second video, we have practically the same Windows 10 workstation, this time hardened that in a way that we disabled all these noisy protocols. And in fact, the demo itself is very, very boring because in Wireshark window, nothing is captured because no packets are generated in the network. And this is an effective method to prevent the start of the attack.
Okay, so let's talk about the next attack from the perspective of MITRE attack. The next attack will be credential dumping, and credential dumping is basically a technique, credential access, which is the tactic. And credential dumping has more variants of attack. In near future, this will be sub-techniques, and we will execute the sub-technique memory dumping of the LSS process, which contains the hashed passwords. And here you can see actually how comprehensive the MITRE ATT&CK framework is. So you have tactics, you have techniques, and you have sub-techniques. You can focus as an attacker on such sub-techniques and also as a defender. So let's move on with the demo. For the demo, we will use Mimikatz. It's quite known tool for extracting passwords or hashes from the LSS memory. And here we are on the Jambox server as local admin. So as I said, we will use Mimikatz. In Mimikatz, it only takes about 3 commands to extract the hash memory. The first one is to gain the right privileges to access the memory. And here we can see privilege debug. The second one is just for logging to make it a little bit more easier. And the last one does the magic. And you will see a lot of output there. We can see a lot of output, and let's look at the dump file that we created. At this stage, the attacker will look for interesting accounts. We can see a lot of hashes, and as he did reconnaissance, he will identify local, not local, but domain admin users. And as he did this, he finds a user that is in fact domain admin not long ago on this server logged in. So we have his NTLM hash. So what we can do with this hash is basically we can use the hash to the domain controller, and you can see the comments here. So we use this user and his hash to execute a comment on the domain controller. The first comment will add a user again, and the second will add this user to the domain admin group. So basically, let's execute this and see what happened. We can see the command successfully executed. And just to prove to you that this works, we will again remote desktop as this new user to the domain controller. You can see the not invisible user, and we can also see that the logging succeeded. Just move on with the demo. To prove to you that this works, we can look that the user was created successfully and is also a member of the domain admins. So at this stage, we can say it's game over for the company because we have domain admin privileges. Not long ago, I read a blog post about threat protection intelligence team, and it was about human-operated ransomware attacks. So at this stage where we are as domain admins, this is the perfect setup for launching the final act of a ransomware attack. This kind of approach is a little bit different than automated ransomware attacks like WannaCry and NotPetya, because the attacker are trying to progress and hack the way as far as possible. So at the end, if nothing more can be hacked, the attacker launches the encryption. But before encryption, he will try to exfiltrate the data. Why is that? Because if a pay the ransom, the attacker will threaten the company to publish confidential information and so on. And this can hurt a lot. But enough of scary stories. Do something against these attacks. And I'm giving here over to Jan.
Okay, so what countermeasures are available to prevent credential dumping attacks? Since Windows 10 and Windows Server 2016, we have Windows Defender Credential Guard, which runs on top of hardware virtualization and is available in practically all modern CPUs. One security hardening setting that is worth mentioning is to disable SE debug privilege permission for local administrators group. By default, this permission is enabled on all Windows operating systems. By disabling it, if you are not a developer, it won't have any negative consequences on the usability of operating system. But of course, there exist additional security hardening suggestions which can be implemented to protect against these credential dumping attacks. I just mentioned just the most important ones that bring, let's say, the greatest benefit with the minimum invested effort needed to implement them. Of course, each security hardening solution or hardening setting depends on your IT environment, what business line applications you have, and also what other third-party solutions you are using, and some additional factors that you have to consider before implementing this. So now I will show you how Windows behaves when the credential guard is enabled. Basically in Task Manager, you always have at least one process named LSAS, no matter if you have credential guard enabled or not. But by enabling a credential guard feature, you will have one additional. This is the credential guard. The process name is LSA isolated. And these are the users that are currently active, have their user session active on this Jambox server. So this is a valuable target for the attacker to extract some credentials from memory. So for the attack, again, mimikatz will be used. And at least from the attacker perspective, pretty much the process looks the same, and nothing changes when credential guard is enabled until the point in time when the attacker looks into the dumped credential file, where he, we will see, won't get any usable hashes or passwords that could be later on used for lateral movement, or maybe to do some PSD hash directly to Active Directory. So all what the attacker gets in the file are some encrypted data. That's because this credential guard keeps part of the LSAS process running in this isolated container that is not accessible in the normal way from operating system. Okay, so this concludes our practical part, if I may say so, of the presentation. Just please stay with us as we have some additional MITRE and Microsoft 365 information to share. So I'm giving the words to Danijel.
Today, many times the name MITRE attacks pop up. In NIL Security Operations Center, we're using this framework to establish visibility, to establish detection, and also prevention. Imagine that this matrix represents the security posture of a company. In the case of this matrix, the red color are the techniques that the client is unable to see, neither to prevent. So today we saw many attacks, not so many, but some of them that are colored red in this matrix. This means that the company would be hacked and the company didn't even see that it was hacked. So what we are aiming to do in NIL Security Operations Center is shift this red color and add it to a little bit more green.
So the objective that we here at NIL SOTS are striving to achieve with practically each of our customers is what you can currently see on the presentation. So we introduced a new color, the green one, which represents what our detection rules can detect. Of course, detection rules are of no use if we don't have correctly configured sensors in the customer's IT environment. By sensors, I mean different security solutions, for example, Active Directory, firewalls, switches, EDR solutions, and so on. If you are asking yourself, why would anyone invest time and money in detection instead of prevention? You must know that many times it is not possible to prevent an attack, or in other words, the ratio between the costs and benefits is not good enough to invest in the expensive prevention solution. Additionally, also detection gives much needed context to the SOC analysts when they are correlating different events, even though the events come from security solutions that successfully, let's say, prevented a cyber attack. And now let's check, going back to a Microsoft integration layer, let's say so, that connects pretty much all the security solutions that we mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, if you remember. The screenshot that you see is taken from the MITRE attack evaluations webpage. You can see the link in the subtitle, where different, on this page, MITRE compares different cybersecurity vendors and rates them on the detection score of techniques and tactics from the MITRE attack matrix that we are speaking about practically during the most of the presentation. I've selected this graph because it very clearly shows how all the security solutions offered by Microsoft connect with each other, and by this also share the signals between them. Microsoft Threat Protection is the integration layer which connects this individual solution into a unified console named Microsoft 365 Security Center that can be also used to then investigate the incidents that are detected by the security solutions. This is how the new portal, Microsoft 365 Security Center, looks like. And once you enable in this portal Microsoft Threat Protection layer, all the solutions like Azure ATP, Microsoft Defender ATP, Office 365, then signals that are generated from Azure Active Directory, and also events produced by Microsoft Cloud App Security will be shown here in Microsoft 365 Security Center. So Microsoft 365 Security Center, let's say, unifies different security solutions into a single pane of glass, where you can then monitor and respond to cybersecurity incidents. Similar design is also used by Microsoft 365 Compliance Center, and Microsoft started now implementing a consistent design over a large portfolio of their solutions that are available through Office 365, Microsoft 365, or Azure subscription. So, taking into account all what we have said until now, here at NIL SOTS as MDR provider, we try to assist our customers to get their security posture from mostly red MITRE attack matrix, if you remember, to the green one. How we achieve this totally depends, of course, on the customer's IT environment. But building on top of security solutions that are already built in the Windows operating system, or solutions such as Microsoft Threat Protection, we have also, on top of this, our in-house detection rules that are tuned to specific customer and their IT environment. So such custom detection rules and different open source tools that we use on a daily basis are practically a must especially during incident response engagements, where you cannot be 100% sure in what kind of environment you are venturing into. So basically, that would be all from Danijel and me. I hope that we, let's say, successfully delivered the main message that, in fact, cybersecurity is complex, but using the correct approach, let's say like cyber kill chain and MITRE ATT&CK framework, this tool can be a good starting point then to successfully prevent and detect cyber attacks in your information system. So thank you. One more thing, if you would like any additional information about our offering or would like to get to know NIL better, please don't hesitate to send an email to this email address, consulting@nil.com, or you can also contact us directly via email, so Danijel or me. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan and Danijel. So we've got some questions. If anybody has some more questions, please put them in the Q&A, and we'll try to answer them. We still have a few minutes, so I will go through the questions, and all of us together with Thomas for Microsoft will try to answer what questions we've got. So the first one is from Sven. Is why you use PowerShell for the attacks and not other tools like Meterpreter and etc. So I think Danijel or Jan, one of you, could answer this.
Maybe I can answer this because I did the attacking part. So this is basically a good question. And in reality, as the attacker are getting more sophisticated, they are moving into the direction of using tools that are available in the environment once they get in. There's actually a word for this. It's called lolbins, and which this word means actually living off the land binaries. So the reason behind this is that such usage of tools to spot in the environment, since these tools are being used on a regular basis. Additionally, when we are talking about Microsoft environment, then the binaries are typically signed by Microsoft. And thus the attack is even harder to spot in comparison to unsigned binaries like Meterpreter and so on. So basically, that's the reason behind this.
Okay, thanks Danijel. So another set of questions around the Defender, Microsoft Defender ATP. So question from Michael. So you were talking about the Microsoft Defender ITP. So is it available only for Windows? Is there anything for Android and iOS? And the connected question is related to Defender, Microsoft Defender ATP and web threat protection. So this is directly related to Microsoft. Let us Microsoft.
Yeah, I can take it. Thanks. So yeah, we are developing basic Defender ATP as a cross-platform solution. So it's available now not only for Windows but also for Linux. And we announced also recently we'll have a client for Android and iOS as well. So basically on the mobile platforms, it will work as mobile threat defense solution. So basically we'll get protection from phishing, attacks on mobile phone, from malicious apps, for example, on Android, and also better detection of jailbroken and rooted devices. And in terms of threat protection on Defender ATP, so for you who don't know, so web protection is also part of capabilities in Defender ATP. So basically, you can use Defender ATP sensor to protect the browser as well. So for example, Microsoft Edge, also third-party browsers like Chrome or Firefox. So basically, it will work similar to your proxy in the corporate network, basically, so protect you from phishing sites, different malware coming from browsing the web, exploited sites, low reputation sites, and also you can do a custom indicator list. Basically, you can have a list of blocked sites which you want to block, and Defender ATP sensor will block them if you use those browsers. And also the last part, we currently also have a web content filtering capabilities. So we're using the partner Siren basically for providing us reputational database And you as an organization can define, for example, that certain categories of the sites are not allowed for people to be used, and those will be blocked also by Defender.
Thanks. Really comprehensive solution for probably all needs and all types of endpoints and different operating systems. So really great. So one more question, and then we'll probably finish because we're running out of time. So Igor asks, is there any special license needed to start using Microsoft 365 Security Center or Microsoft Threat Protection? So I think, Jan, you're talking about Security Center?
I can answer this, yeah, because I was talking at the end of the presentation about this. There is no really special license only for Microsoft Threat Protection or Microsoft 365 Security Center, if I'm not mistaken. But of course, Security Center is only available if you have one of the subscriptions. Just let me show you. Maybe it will be easier if I simply Microsoft Threat Protection, and we will check directly on the website. So under requisites. So basically, you must have one of these subscription plans, and then you automatically get also the new Microsoft 365 Security Center portal.
Yeah, so basically any E5 or E5, yeah.
Yeah.
So you were talking about Microsoft Defender ATP. So is there a version for Android and maybe for iOS? And what kind of capabilities Microsoft Defender ATP has for the web threat protection? So this is talking about the Microsoft. So can our Microsoft guest answer it? Or Alexander?
Yes, Microsoft provide Microsoft Defender ATP for Android and iOS now. This is a preview version. And we provide additional function now for web threat protection through Windows Defender ATP. It's possible.
Okay, thanks for the answer. So another question from Vitali. So why are you using PowerShell for the attacks and not other tools like Meterpreter, etc.? So since the attacker role was played by Danijel, so Danijel, can you answer this?
Yes, of course. So in reality, the attackers are getting more sophisticated, and they are moving into the direction of using tools that are available in the environment. There's actually a word for this, which is lolbeans. This means living of the land binaries. The reason behind this is that such usage of tools is harder to spot in the environment, since the tools are being used on a regular basis. Additionally, when we are talking about Microsoft environment, they are typically signed by Microsoft, and thus the attack is even harder to spot in comparison with unsigned binaries like Meterpreter and so on. I hope that this answers the question.
Okay, yeah, it does. Thank you. Continuing the question, so if the customer already has in-house some security solution and decides for your MDR service, is the customer forced to change the solution, or can they continue using what they already have? So maybe Jan?
Basically, no, we are very adaptive, and we try to include in our MDR service to use the security solutions that the customer already has. But of course, if the security solution is good enough to give us enough visibility. But usually, at least from our experience until now, we realize that it's possible to do quite a lot of things with the customers' solutions that are not officially supported from our side, but we can include them in NIL-SOCs.
So one of our attendees is asking, what is your approach? What is the Microsoft approach to security, and how do you protect your environment from external attacks? Can you cover this question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Sure. Yes, thank you for this question. And well, Microsoft believes that security, privacy, and compliance of its enterprise cloud services are shared responsibilities with accountability distributed between Azure and the customer, depending on the services being consumed. Azure helps customers reduce their security and compliance burden through trustworthy enterprise cloud services, offering the compliance capabilities customers need to help them fulfill their own standards or regulatory requirements, of course, based on their Azure use of Azure. And Azure security spans physical data center facilities, hardware, infrastructure, operating systems, software, policies, and controls with audit and certification through independent third parties. And there are two broad categories of security features. First one is built-in security, and the second one is customer controls. We have built-in security represents all the measures that Microsoft takes on behalf of all cloud customers to protect the cloud environment. To run a highly available platform and services. Azure development adheres to the security development lifecycle, so-called SDL, with security requirements embedded in systems and software through the planning, design, development, and deployment phases. Azure adheres a rigorous set of security controls that govern operations and support and demonstrate compliance with industry and regulatory standards. Customer controls are features that enable customers to configure and manage their Azure subscriptions and environment to meet their organizational specific needs. And of course, Microsoft applies assume breach strategy to harden cloud services. A dedicated so-called red team of software security experts simulate real-world attacks at the network platform and application layers, testing Azure's ability to detect, protect against, and recover from breaches.
Yeah, thank you. This was really the descriptive answer. We covered actually also the another questions in this answer. So we have now one of the attendees is asking. Maybe the question is for Danijel or Jan. The next question is, why should an attacker stay longer in the system if it takes only a couple of days to get full privileges? It was mentioned that they stay on average 200 days. Why is that?
If I understand correctly this question, attackers staying in the environment to get all the access or maybe information insights of the company and until it's be recognized by the security systems.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Danijel, would you add anything to this question?
Yeah, of course, I can add something. As we remember the cybercriminal chain that was shown, so the last stage was actions on objectives. So basically, the answer is it depends on the attacker motivation. If they want to make quick money and encrypt everything and demand ransom, then they have no goal to stay 200 days in the system. But if the goal is espionage or affecting, for example, an industrial process, they will stay as long as possible. For example, maybe a prime example is Stuxnet, where the goal was to delay the uranium enrichment and be on notice as long as possible. So it basically depends on the motivation of the attacker.
Since we are already run out of time, I would conclude this webinar at this point. In the Q&A section, I will send you the email. It is consulting@nil.com. where you can put or write to us your potential questions or suggestions to cooperate with us. Otherwise, we would like to thank you for being present at our webinar, and we will be in touch. Thank you and have a nice day.